From an ex-officer who attacked two members of the force,
It's murder in his heart. He wasn't thinking, I just want to aggravate and assault them. Two officers gunned down.
to a London police constable who almost got away with his heinous crime.
Sorry, do you know where Sarah is?
I don't know.
These are 5 corrupt cops gone crazy after hearing their life sentences. Disclaimer, all content in this video is for general educational purposes only. This is Jesse Hernandez Jr., a 33-year-old man who was once an officer at the Corpus Christi Police Department before he was fired for misconduct. In 2013, Officer Kiram from the Selma Police Force responded to urgent calls about a domestic disturbance from neighbors who saw Jesse dragging his wife into the house by her hair. And guess where they found themselves? Inside Hernandez's home. Little did she know that night would change her life forever.
It's been almost 2 years since 2 Selma police officers were shot and critically wounded as they answered a domestic disturbance call here.
As the officer entered, Hernandez's mother led her grandchildren away to safety. Hiram noticed Hernandez's injured wife, tried to approach her to help, but in a shocking turn of events, Hernandez drew a handgun, shooting Hiram in the face.
Now, the 2 officers were responding to a domestic call around 10:30 last night. They went to a home on Penseeker in Selma. Police say when the officers got there, there was a shootout with the suspect. There was something that led up to it, and that's when all 3 of them were hit, including the 2 officers and the suspect.
Thankfully, Hiram had called for backup, and soon enough, Corporal Jesus Valderramas showed up just in time. He was horrified to see Hiram on the floor in a horrific crime scene, and while Hernandez did shoot Valderramas in the leg, the officer also managed to fire back and neutralize the criminal. Other members of the Selma PD showed up soon after that, and Hernandez was immediately arrested. The 2 officers were taken to the hospital where they had to fight for their lives before managing full recoveries, while Hernandez was taken to trial.
He had murder in his heart. He wasn't thinking, I just want to aggravate and assault them. 2 officers gunned down.
In the tension-filled courtroom, Jesus Valderramas recounted one of the most harrowing experiences of his life. Hernandez watched. Speaking to the jury, he described the events of that night, which sound like something straight out of a horror movie.
I noticed a gun, what looked to be like a gun, come out, heard 1 shot. I saw Officer Kiram drop. I started running backwards. I heard another shot, felt a bad pain in my leg where I dropped.
Hernandez's lawyer, John Bud Rittenor, tried to convince the jurors not to make a snap judgment, saying that Hernandez was actually trying to take his own life and wasn't in the right state of mind.
Prison. Ex-cop equals killing him.
But at the end of the trial, after 3 hours of deliberation, the jury voted in favor of the prosecution, sentencing Jesse Hernandez to life in prison. What Jesse did can never be excused. But what happens when the police chief himself is involved in a murder? Meet Joe Ferrari, the ex-Thai police chief who was charged with murder by torture, deprivation of liberty, and abuse of power. Colonel Joe Ferrari's real names are neither Joe nor Ferrari. It was Thitisan Uthanapan. He had gotten the nickname because of the collection of luxury cars he had parked at his sprawling mansion. Joe lived a life of luxury. To the public, he was the perfect civil servant and a devoted family man. But little did the people know that he was hiding an extremely dirty secret behind the facade. In August of 2020, Joe and 6 other deputies tortured and murdered a 24-year-old drug dealer right inside a Thai police station. The case shook the nation as they demanded for the reform of the police. So, how did it all happen? The drug dealer and his girlfriend had been arrested after drugs were found in their possession. He and Joe had already come to an agreement on the price to pay to have all the charges dropped. But now Joe wanted double of what they had agreed on, about $30,000 more. The suspect refused. So, Joe did what any other officer would do under the full glare of light in a police station. He covered the man's head with a plastic bag and had other deputies hit him, while another wrapped a bag around the suspect's neck. Trying to force him into accepting their new price. The suspect struggled and then he fell from the chair and went quiet. After several minutes, the officers tried unsuccessfully to resuscitate him. Colonel Joe used his authority to cover his tracks and ordered his men to take the body to the hospital and told the doctor the cause of death was a drug overdose.
And police officially put down his death as an amphetamine intoxication until the video came out.
They also almost got away with it. Then, weeks later, the video of the incident was leaked online. Joe went on the run and crossed the borders into neighboring Myanmar as his subordinates were quickly rounded up.
Police Inspector General reported all 7 have been hit with criminal offenses and will be prosecuted summarily.
He later surrendered and was arrested and charged. They all pleaded not guilty. Joe went as far as to claim that the whole thing was an accident and that he had only wanted information out of the suspect to bring down the drug business. He was given the death sentence, but it was later reduced to life imprisonment because he had attempted to revive the suspect and had paid for the funeral expenses for the family. 5 of the other 6 officers involved in the case were found guilty of murder and also received life sentences. A 7th, who testified against them and didn't participate, got 5 years and 4 months, bringing an end to this heinous case. Joe Ferrari wasn't the only cop who abused his power in the worst way imaginable. This cop managed to get away with her crimes for almost 3 decades.
Was there any relationship or anything that developed between you guys?
Yeah, I mean, we dated, you know, I mean, what's this all about?
But before we get into that, meet Daniel Holtzclaw, an Oklahoma City police officer accused of assaulting 13 women on duty and power abuse. Daniel's crimes were brought to light in the dark, early hours of June 18, 2014, when a 57-year-old woman named Janny Liggins reported him to the police.
He made me perform all assaults on him.
Shortly after completing his shift, around 2 a.m., Officer Holtzclaw was en route to his home. Although off-duty and driving in his assigned police vehicle, Holtzclaw made a decision to make a traffic stop. There was no call to dispatch, no records check, and alarmingly, he logged off his patrol car computer, severing any electronic link to the police force during this mysterious detour.
I had a lot of people tell me, oh, he's a police officer, they're not going to do anything to him.
The unsuspecting driver, pulled over by Holtzclaw, was 57-year-old Janny Liggins. Unlike the victims police believed Holtzclaw typically targeted, those in poverty-stricken areas with potential criminal records, Liggins was an anomaly.
Why do you think he targeted you and so many other women?
I think he was thinking that every woman he stopped had some kind of record, or he could hold something over our heads, and that didn't happen with me. He just stopped the wrong person.
A woman with no criminal history and not living in poverty. She was just passing through the area. The encounter with Holtzclaw rapidly took a dark turn when he made her do nasty things.
He made me perform all assaults on him.
Demonstrating immense courage, Liggins immediately reported the incident to the police. Her brave act would be the catalyst for unveiling a much larger pattern of abuse and betrayals by Holtzclaw.
I was out there alone and helpless, didn't know what to do. And in my mind, all I could think that he was going to shoot me. He was going to kill me.
I was scared. I didn't know what to do.
After her complaint, Holtzclaw was taken in for interrogation for over 2 hours, where he denied all accusations of misconduct during the Liggins stop.
Valid license. So I brought her back to the house, the car, and then that's when I...
Okay, what side of your car?
Back right.
The passenger side?
Yes.
Okay.
The officer interrogating him remembered Holtzclaw being completely devoid of all emotion during the interrogation, with his face giving away absolutely nothing.
There was no emotion from him at all. Your voice might raise a little bit, your eyebrows might raise a little bit, going, what? Nothing.
He wasn't even surprised listening to the allegations against him, which convinced the officer that he was the criminal. But the officers wanted to make sure that the investigation was carried out thoroughly, taking his buccal swabs for DNA comparison. 2 months later, the police had managed to track down a dozen other victims who had been violated by the police officer during his rounds.
He comes to the bed and he takes off his belt and he places it on the seat on my left side, and I'm just sitting there, and when he do that, I just look and it's there. His private is out, and it's like it's basically like he didn't say nothing. He just basically know what to do. At this moment, I'm thinking like I don't have a choice.
And that was all the evidence they needed to arrest him. During the trial, after all the evidence was presented, the jury found the former cop guilty on all grounds, sentencing him to 263 years in prison. As the verdict was announced, Holtzman was seen crying and breaking down as justice was rightfully served.
Mr. Holtzclaw, this jury finds you guilty of the various counts. You will be remanded to the custody of the Oklahoma County Sheriff for formal sentencing set January 21st, 2016 at 10 o'clock a.m.
You're all right, ask to hold the jury.
All right, if you have a seat.
But while Holtzclaw was served justice soon enough, watch how this next cop managed to evade the law for 26 years before she was finally caught red-handed. Stephanie Lazarus was an ex-cop in the LAPD who was charged with first-degree murder after jealousy got the best of her. Lazarus was a star detective in the LAPD. She was great at her job, and everyone in the department held a lot of respect for her. But what they didn't know was that the woman's personal life was pretty much in shambles. She had been seeing John on and off before she met another woman named Sherry Rasmussen. The two got married in December of 1985, and that is what made Stephanie snap. 3 months into the marriage, Sherry couldn't shake the feeling that someone was stalking her. Her fears were confirmed when she started receiving murder threats. Not long after that, John returned home to find his wife's car gone and her dead inside. Sherry had been fired numerous times, and there were deep bite marks on her left arm.
Sherry was bludgeoned and then shot several times at close range in the chest by rounds, almost all of which would have been fatal immediately.
The house looked like it had been robbed, and when neighbors reported a rash of robberies by two Latinos, detectives thought the two crimes might be connected. They were never able to find the two men, and the case went cold. But guess what? 23 years later, the cold case unit took a swipe at the case. They got DNA from a bite mark on Sherry's arm, but instead of leading them to a male robber, the DNA pointed to a female. Stephanie's DNA was a perfect match to the DNA found on Sherry's body. And that was when the LAPD knew that this case could take the entire department down if it wasn't handled just the right way. So, two of her colleagues lured Stephanie into a room and tried to get her to confess in front of a hidden camera, trying to keep the tone friendly instead of just ambushing her.
Stephanie, I don't know if you know my partner.
Hey,
great.
Hi.
Stearns, nice to meet you.
See you guys.
How's it going?
Good.
Milling around. Well, have a seat.
First, they take John's name, trying to see how Stephanie would react. But as you can guess, all those years in the police department had prepared the murderer for this very moment.
Do you know John Rutten?
John Rutten?
Rutten.
Oh yeah, I went to school with him.
But minutes into the interrogation, Stephanie starts getting visibly frustrated with the questions, especially when they start asking her about John's dead wife.
Had you ever met his wife?
I may have.
Do you remember her name or anything, or?
Soon enough, the interrogators had their answers because of the way Stephanie had started behaving.
I mean, are you guys, is this something, I mean, you said I was going to interview somebody about art.
One of Sherry's friends said that you and her were having a problem because of the John situation.
When the police let her know that her DNA matched Sherry's murderer's bite marks, Stephanie does all she can to create a scene. But by then, it's way too late.
I'm really shocked that somebody would be saying that I did this. I mean, we had a fight, and so I went and killed her. I mean, come on.
Stephanie, you know you have the right to remain silent. Do you understand?
Yes.
Anything you say may be used against you in court. Do you understand?
Yes.
Stephanie was arrested and charged with murder. After eluding justice for 26 years, Stephanie was found guilty and sentenced to 27 years to life. Unlike Stephanie, who covered up her crime pretty well, Wayne Couzens left a trail of security camera videos that led to his arrest.
Sarah went missing on Wednesday. I don't know.
This is Wayne Couzens, a police constable and firearms officer who was serving with the Metropolitan Police Department in London when he was charged with the assault and murder of a woman named Sarah Everard. But little did they know that not only was he capable of it, he was also pretty great at lying to protect himself from the law. 33-year-old Sarah Everard was walking home on the evening of the 3rd of March 2021 when she was stopped by Constable Couzens, who was actually off duty at the time. Couzens introduced himself as a police officer, handcuffed Sarah, and forced her into his car before driving her to a quiet area in Dover, where he assaulted and murdered her. Now, while Couzens' choice of victim was random, the plan was premeditated days before it happened. Couzens traveled from Deal to London for a month, planning his crimes. He rented a car and bought self-adhesive film from Amazon days before the attack. After a 12-hour shift at the US Embassy, he searched for a young woman to abduct and assault. But that is not where it stops. After committing the crime, Couzens visited where Miss Everard's body was left twice, departing before sunrise on each occasion. The following day, as her search intensified, he burned her body in a fridge using petrol, which was discovered by the police. During their investigation, he then used 2 bags to put her remains in a pond in his woodland area in Ashford. A week later, her body was discovered nearby, close to Couzens' property. Couzens tried to resume a normal life, even calling a vet for his dog and taking his family to the very woods where he hid Miss Everard's body. On the day he was supposed to go back to work, he called in sick, which alerted the police. The next day, he was arrested. Initially, he tried to lie his way out of the situation.
Show the picture. Do you know Sarah?
I don't know.
So, would you like to, do you know where Sarah is?
No.
Right.
The police stayed calm, letting Couzens know that they believed he knew something about Sarah's murder, freaking the man out instantly.
We believe that you know something about where she is, and that's why we're here, to look for her and to try and find her. And that's why we're talking to you now, is to try and get you to have a good think about it.
After which, he started fabricating a story to get out of the mess he found himself in.
Okay, well, I am in financial, and I've been lent on by, I don't know who they are. They're a group, a gang, whatever. And they told me, well, I need to go and pick up girls and pick them to them. So, that's it happening. And it then came through that they're gonna harm my family, take them away, and they'll use them instead. At that point, I had no option to try and find somebody.
He tried extremely hard to convince the police that he was being threatened by a gang who wanted to target Sarah.
So I'm here, I'm off work with stress because I'm here to protect my family. I want to be here 24/7 for my family. They come from my family. I've got nothing myself. I've got no choice.
But at that point, the authorities had already found incriminating evidence in Couzens' car, including the key to a pair of handcuffs and a Velcro strap that he'd used to restrict Sarah. After all was said and done, the ex-cop pleaded guilty to the crime and was sentenced to life in prison.